back. So we're going to be talking about Trump's spiritual advisor being a PDF file. Talking about how FBI is now Trump supporters and let's just say the solution skeptics. Yeah. More Sharia law coming to America.
A Texas megachurch in Southlake, Texas. Morris was also a spiritual advisor to Trump while he was in the White House. Here he is in the Rose Garden in 2020, just a few rows behind where then Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's family and the First Lady are about to sit. And here is Trump visiting Morris's church earlier that summer, giving his personal assessment of the man.
So I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dullen. They're great people. Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation. And Gateway Church, the team has been incredible in hosting us. And I'd now like to ask Pastor Morris and Bishop Jackson to lead us in prayer.
Robert Morris just resigned from his church following allegations that he sexually abused a child. In a statement to an evangelical news site, Morris said he was involved in an inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady. Those are his words. He didn't mention that the young lady in question was a 12-year-old girl. In his statement, Trump's one-time spiritual advisor admitted he continued to molest the child on, quote, several occasions over the next few years. Mike Hixenbaugh is a senior investigative reporter for NBC News who's been all over the story. He writes about Pastor Morris in his book, They Came for the Schools, One Town's Fight Over Race and Identity and the New War for America's Classrooms. And he joins me now. Mike, this is something that happened a long time ago that we are learning about now. Take us through how this came out.
Well, last week, the survivor in this case, Cindy Clemishire, who has tried telling the story in different ways for years, came forward in a blog post and spelled out in very clear detail how when she was 12 years old on Christmas in 1982, Pastor Morris, who was a family friend then, a young traveling evangelist, invited her into his room where he was at the guest room at her house and proceeded to molest her, the first of several instances where he would do that over the next 4.5 years. And as you mentioned in the lead-in, Pastor Morris and Gateway Church responded initially by saying, this is an old sin. Pastor he's repented and this has been taken care of. Flash forward a few days, there was a lot of pressure around this when people started pointing out, yeah, the young lady was 12, that's a child. And yesterday he resigned from the church that he founded 20 plus years ago.
Now, he had been telling a sort of story about a kind of redemption arc, about stepping away from the ministry in the 1980s because he had been confronted by the then girl's father at that time. Is that right?
That's right. And I've been talking with, former Gateway members and former pastors at the church. They talk about how he talked about this story all the time. And it became kind of like a signature part of his biography that he had this moral failing when he was young. And it was around sexual immorality with, again, a young lady. And some telling.
If he was honest, he would have said, it was with a 12-year-old girl. He wouldn't say a young lady. Young lady is like 18, 20, 22, 23. Between 19, 23. Not 12 years old. So he's been bragging and telling everybody about this moral fail with a young lady. He didn't tell the truth about it. That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, I think Trump was okay his cabinet of people, these evangelicals that are hanging around Trump, they're crooked as hell. All right. These evangelicals are not people that are the types that are hanging around Trump. These people are not to be trusted. These people are scam artists. They're there for the fame. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more of them coming out with some sort of moral sick failing. You got to remember, his cabinet is full of people that will say yes to him, yes to Trump, and they're crooked. And they will know Trump is doing something crooked, and they will come up with this speech that he's chosen by God to lead the country. Okay. But let's get into the next story right now. We're going to be talking about what's going on with the FBI kicking out Trump supporters and the special sauce skeptics out of the FBI. Let's get into that now. Because they want they have a new pandemic coming. Many people don't know about it. There's another pandemic coming. Let's get into that right now.
Here is one of the interview outlines that the FBI Security Division used to question our client's co-workers about his political opinions. So the FBI is trying to get rid of everybody in the FBI who they don't like, meaning they think has the wrong thoughts in their heads.
This is why at work, your coworkers are not your friends. They're not your friends. There are certain things you got to keep to yourself, because if they're given an incentive to snitch on you, to find dirt on you, they will. For some extra cash, they will. Especially when this new pandemic comes about and we're going to be issued with lockdowns again. Yeah, anybody who's not compliant, because remember, people were snitching on each other when the pandemic was around. Who was not wearing a mask? Who was not social distancing? Remember those days? They're going to come again. They're just testing the waters, and they see they could throw another pandemic. And I'm telling you, we're going to be going back to Nazi Germany, where people were snitching on each other to the government or to Hitler's gang, and people were getting arrested and dragged off the camps. And they do have FEMA camps. Okay, there's one in New York City, probably one in every state. I guarantee you that's going to be happening again.
Like they might support Donald Trump. They might have inside information about January 6th and know it was a setup, and they might have questions about the vaccine. They weren't asking they're asking their coworkers. You want to see it? So here it says, this is an administration investigation regarding an allegation that this person, they block out, engaged in conduct that calls into question his ability to maintain a top secret security clearance pursuant to the national security, blah, blah, blah. You are being asked to provide information as a fact witness as part of an investigation conducted by the security division. You have a duty to reply to these questions posed to you during this interview. Should you refuse to answer or fail to reply fully and truthfully, action against your security clearance may be undertaken, and you may be referred to the inspection division for possible disciplinary action.
Yeah, this is the Civil War at the top I'm talking about.
So they go, hey, how long have you known this person? In what capacity? How do you socialize? Have you ever heard this person vocalize support for Donald Trump?
By the way,
This is a question that the FBI is asking. Have you ever heard this other person you work with?
But somebody with security clearance. So think of that. That's somebody who knows stuff that we don't know. And they're like suspicious of the vaccine possibly.
Yes.
Or of the cases against Trump.
Yes.
So that's a good deal. That means like potentially someone who knows what they're up to.
That's right. That's exactly right, Kurt. Somebody who knows what they're up to.
And And that's basically what's coming down to. In the workplace now, if they could do this with the FBI, they could do this at your workplace. What are your thoughts on the new pandemic that's coming around? What are your thoughts on new special sauce they want us to take? Do you like it? Are you for Trump? Are you against Trump? What are your political? This is why it's no longer good to talk about politics on the job, because it could cost you. All right. People want to find ways to make their company like a kind of, how do I put it? They want it to be like a Führer. Okay, they want to please the Führer. And when Trump comes into office with Project 2025, it will be that way too. All right. FBI is kicking out MAGA supporters and people who are not for the special sauce. Okay. They're going to try to find a way. They will try to find a way. Okay. To weed out people that don't have the right thinking. That's what they want. I'm telling you, we're going to a fascist society. Whether it's Biden, whether it's the left or the right, is going to be a fascist society that we're going to be living in. All right. That's what's going to happen. Here's something else to that's actually food for thought. Documentary claims feds are building detention facilities in every state. Said that the U.S. federal government is in the process of building a huge network of internment camps across the country, but they're not for the purpose of housing illegal aliens. Spanning all 50 states, the facilities are for imprisoning political dissidents, according to a shocking new documentary. Reports speaking to Redacted's Clayton Morris, former Customs and Border Patrol agent J.J. Carroll, revealed a whistleblower in his upcoming documentary, Treason, exposes a scheme to build massive facilities that can house tens of thousands of people in every state.
Well, we have a saying on this show, the conspiracy theories are just 6-month spoiler alerts for what's to come. And there's no shame in raising these questions. So here's one for you. With over 30 million, upwards of 43 million illegal immigrants that have poured across the border during Biden's presidency, and the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states population, why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
So it's not for illegal immigrants. Who is it for? Dissidents? We're going to unpack this with former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, who did this interview as part of his new documentary, Treason, scouring the country right now. And you just keep bringing unbelievable revelation after unbelievable revelation as part of this story. And I think, again, most Americans have no idea what is going on, and it's being absolutely kept from the American people right now. And JJ joins us once again here on the show. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. And thank you for talking about this documentary, because as I travel the nation, I have I believe I'm an expert on this topic. However, when you talk to people, and I have interviewed multiple people from all different levels of ability to get intelligence gathering data, it's fascinating to me and shocking at the same time when I speak to people that are very compartmentalized, meaning they focus on child sex trafficking. They talk about the gang members. They talk about facilities, and you get deep in that rabbit hole. Really, it's a rabbit hole. You're like, I didn't know it was this deep. I didn't know it was this broad. I didn't know it was this malicious. And you played this clip from someone I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of, but she has access to all the bid contracts. So I'm interviewing her, and like I said, I have a very good understanding of what the hell's going on in America under this immigration invasion. But when I speak to people that are very dialed in on very specific areas, I'm shocked. And she tells me, and I didn't know this because I don't have access to it. She has access to the federal database where you can go on a website and there are endless bids for contracts from whatever. But she's focusing in on, she says to me, there's bids for detention facilities being built in all 50 states in America. And I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not. And she has a point, right? Because
you would think, right? So that's where I was confused. I would have thought, okay, they're building all of these detention facilities across the United States for a purpose, illegal immigrants. But no, right? Because as your data has suggested, most of these ICE facilities, right? Can you talk about that, are completely empty?
Yes. Well, they are completely empty. I talked to my buddies in Texas and in San Diego, and I talked to my ICE supervisors, and they tell me, JJ, they're empty. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 beds across America, mainly on the southern border, right, are empty. Well, why are they empty? Because we have massive catch and release. Let me explain what this looks like. In the old days, right? The old days, Clayton, 3.5 years ago, not 30 years ago, when I got someone that was special interest alien, deported felon, whatever, I didn't release them. I sent them to an ICE holding facility, and they went and they waited there a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was, to go in front of the judge, find deported, or found to be guilty of reentering as a felon. Then they spent time in federal prison, and then they would be deported. So we had all this bed space. But now, if I get someone that's a deported felon, I know this is going to be hard for people to believe. I arrest someone that's a deported felon now, I'm releasing them. I'm releasing them on the street. So you go from arresting people 3 years ago, setting up for deportation and prosecution, goes to, we call it a camp space in an ICE facility, and then that individual goes through the court system and then is ultimately deported after he or she serves her time. Not now. Everyone gets arrested by the Border Patrol. They quickly vet them, and then release them. Just release them. We just had 8, I'm going to mispronounce it, Kyrgyzstanians, 8 of them that crossed the border, were vetted and released. Now we find out they were actually ISIS terrorists. ICE had to go find them. All 8 of them, I believe, entered together, but all 8 of them didn't stay together. They went to Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York.
Yeah, I did a story on that too. This is what we're dealing with. You're letting terrorists go free, run wild in this country, and it's by design to wreak havoc, okay? And you're going to arrest people who will speak the truth, who have dissenting opinions, who will talk about locking them up, who will talk about what is going on with our country. Why are these people getting away with murder? Some of them literally getting away with murder. And why is this happening? But you're locking up people who want to spread this news. Okay? It's almost like some sort of replacement theory, some sort of way to change the demographics in a way that is more supporting of the New World Order. That's what it seems like it's like. Okay. It seems like that's where it's headed. It really seems that way. You think it's that way? Let me show you something. Biden official caught admitting Great Replacement theory is a conspiracy fact. The State Department official has been caught on camera admitting the Great Replacement theory is not a conspiracy theory, but rather a conspiracy fact. And the Biden administration is attempted to change the demographic of the United States. The mainstream media routinely dismissed the Great Replacement theory as one of the most dangerous white supremacist conspiracies out there. According to leftist media, the Great Replacement conspiracy theory is a white supremacist, xenophobic, and anti-immigrant concept that post-white people are being replaced by immigrants, migrants, and other people of color in the so-called home countries. However, the footage obtained by Project Veritas exposes the truth. Biden administration's open borders policies are the Great Replacement theory in action.
There's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly
there's got to be something that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily.
The big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration. So we poured a lot of money into Central America.
Like how much?
$4 billion over 4 years. But now migrants are coming from us there.
Right.
Like Venezuela.
Somos de nacionalidad venezolana. Tenemos vuelo para Nueva York.
Entonces, ¿le compraste un vuelo con Spirit?
Sí.
40.
Sí. Con la cita de CBP1 por el puente fronterizo.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing it?
They want to change the demographics of the United States.
So our aid goes to female prisons in Mexico.
Some of them, yeah. To like help train them up.
I'm working with gender issues in Pakistan, so we're trying to recruit, retain, and advance more women in law enforcement. The question becomes, should we be spending U.S. taxpayers' money in our country on this issue? Women that they don't seem to care about.
Secretary Blinken, how close are you to him?
5 degrees separation. This is such a niche industry that flies under the radar that the average American does not know. Those people don't know what we do.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much to you, Ranking Member Risch, all the members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Yes, briefing's coming up in 2 weeks.
He has briefings?
Yeah, on the Hill about the FY 2025 budget request. And that's like with all the congressional people. Big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration.
Oh
How to stop migration. What are we doing to stop migration?
He's not accountable for that, is he?
Yeah, we do stuff for it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's called the root causes strategy.
Ooh,
it's giving money to support and help people at where the origins of the migrants are, so they feel like they can stay there instead of migrating out. So it's Central America, basically.
It's what?
It's basically Central America, like support and development.
Oh.
So we poured a lot of money into Central America.
Like how much?
$4 billion over 4 years.
Oh. It's like a lot of money for those places.
It's a lot of money.
Is it doing anything?
I think for them, yes, but now migrants are coming from elsewhere.
Right.
Like Venezuela, so we're like, oh, this didn't solve that problem.
Oh no. So what does he say to that? That looks bad for the administration, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it looks bad for any administration because no one solves migration. It's like the end all be all, like kill pill for politics.
Right. And I feel like if anything, the other side's going to win because of it.
I know. My dad used to complain about that. I'm like, oh, and like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's not that much. And then I see the chart, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like compared to like 20 years ago. I was like, oh wait, they're on to something.
And I don't know what to say to that.
I really don't. I literally don't know.
Like, what would the administration say to that?
I don't know.
It kind of explains how they're hiring migrants to be police officers as well, because they want foot soldiers that's going to do what the government wants and has no qualms about it, unlike a person that's an American-born citizen that's not going to violate the Constitution. Okay, that's not going to violate their conscience, compared to an illegal migrant whose only care is to be paid money. Go into a person's home and drag them out? Sure. Go into a person's home and drag them to a FEMA camp? Sure. You can't do that with an American-born citizen that's been sworn in to uphold the law. We're going to have a race war. That's what's happening. We're going to end up having a race war, and it's going to be a very scary couple of years. This election is going to be very scary as well.
There too, and I talked with my coworker who like manages the migration for us, foreign assistance, and we always talk every time. We're like, I don't know what we do. Like, there's no clear answer.
Do they do things within the foreign affairs departments that people have like this money going to these women? I mean, there's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration, because that's the one where the left is really controlling immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily. Like when I was in, you have to confirmation.
You heard that, right? Let in criminals daily. Play that back.
Some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration, because that's the one where the left is really controlling immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily. Like when I was in, you have to confirmation of that.
And people can't say this is all the Democrats' fault. No, it's not. It's not. Because you got Republicans who will cry about this. Oh man, these migrants coming over, but you're gonna hire them to work dirt cheap to cut your grass. Well, as I said, do construction work and teach your kids Spanish, and you'll pay them cheaper. You pay them a low rate because they'll work for cheap than you would pay an American-born citizen. They're lowering the working wage while inflation is going through the roof. This is going to start a race war and a class war. A lot of people are going to be taking sides because people are going to feel that their jobs are going to be taken away from them, because American with trade school skills or experience in a particular field are not going to work for pennies on the dollar compared to a migrant, an illegal migrant. A lot of things are going to happen that are very scary. A lot of crime is going to go up. A lot of people are going to be doing some really shady things to make ends meet. And there's going to be a lot of wars, turf wars. People are going to get very tribal and very territorial. And the Democrats and Republicans are going to love it, because then they could usher in their own new world order with their own foot soldiers who don't abide by the Constitution. And to Trump wants to give cops, those cops will be, some of them will be illegal migrants sworn in, and he wants the cops to have immunity from prosecution. He doesn't care if these cops are dirty or not. He doesn't want to modify qualified immunity. He wants cops to be protected. He didn't say good cops to be protected. He just wants cops, period, to be protected. If he gets in office, he will have his little mafia, his little Gestapo.
You have cops.
Same thing with Biden. He wants that same thing too. They're two wings of the same bird.
Oh yeah. So all the good, honest, hardworking Mexicans stay in Mexico, and all the pieces of garbage come to the United States. And those are the ones that we left. We are literally, and the Mexican government has no reason to stop it, because their garbage goes to another country and then sends money back to them. Like, imagine if the worst of the worst, if all the criminals in the United States were all going to Canada and sending back billions of dollars a year. Why would you stop that? I wouldn't even change the numbers of, like, if we let in 100,000 Mexicans a year, I'm like, let in 100,000 Mexicans a year, just change the quality of the applicant. Make the, say 100,000 Mexicans, but you can't have been in the U.S. illegally, and you can't have a criminal record.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing it?
They want to change the demographics of the United States.
There you go. There you go. That's probably what all this immigration thing was all along. All along, this huge immigration thing was to have a replacement there. We were being replaced, especially blacks. Nope, it's not. It's the truth. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's the truth. Okay, these are the facts. They're going to be taking jobs. Some of them are going to be taking a whole lot from you, too. Okay? They already are deleting people left and right. Okay, the bombshell video exposes Dan Fitzgerald, a country coordinator for the U.S. State Department, discussing the real reasons behind the immigration strategies being pushed on Capitol Hill. The big issue for the Hill, for our region, is immigration. Fitzgerald states he reveals that despite investments in Central America, approximately $4 billion over 4 years, immigration patterns have shifted, with a growing number of migrants now arriving in places like Venezuela. He describes failed efforts to pour $4 billion over 4 years into Central America as part of Biden's administration root cause strategy. Under this plan, Washington provides a foreign assistance to Latin American countries in order to preemptively relieve hardships that would trigger migrants to abandon their countries for U.S. However, Fitzgerald shares the plan isn't working because migrants are now coming from new countries they didn't account for. Migrants are coming from elsewhere, like Venezuela, so we're like, this root cause strategy doesn't solve that problem. Fitzgerald admits that while he didn't originally see illegal migration as a concern, his mind has changed, and those who raise issue with unchecked immigration are onto something. In my mind, I'm like, oh, it's not that much illegal immigration. And then I see the chart, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot compared to 20 years ago. As the U.S. faces an unprecedented surge in illegal border crossings, Fitzgerald admits that he and his colleagues are at loss for solutions. There is no clear answer, he said. Fitzgerald concedes that the negative optics surrounding the immigration could jeopardize Biden's chances of re-election. It looks bad for any administration because no one solves migration. It's like the end-all, be-all, kill pill for politics, he said. Project Veritas journalist asks for Dan Fitzgerald, Secretary Blinken, how close are you to him? All right, you all heard all that stuff already. Okay. And that is basically what's going down. We have a great replacement situation on our hands. Okay. Let's get into this right here with Russia.
Russian President Vladimir
Fair use.
Putin has vowed to dismantle the adrenochrome supply chain, as news breaks that Russian forces have liberated 50 imprisoned, emaciated children from an adrenochrome farm near Shostka, Ukraine. Russian special forces.
Let's see. Nah, Trump doesn't back crooked police. Trump didn't make any distinction when he said he wanted police officers to be protected from prosecution. He didn't say that. He had this little song and dance about how all these cops, when they get prosecuted, they lose their pension, they lose their families. Okay. He didn't say these were cops that were railroaded. These were crooked cops. Okay. He made no distinction. I don't know what to tell you. No distinction at all. Trump wants his little army. If he had said, you know what, I want to modify qualitative immunity, so cops have to, the bad cops will have to watch themselves, because you don't have to tell the good cops anything because they'll abide by the law. Pretty much it, common sense. But the bad cops, they don't. Okay? Just like Derek Chauvin didn't abide by the law. When it was the second time he put his knee on a person's neck. George Floyd was the second person that he put his knee on a person's neck. Okay? You can say policy all you want. Trump made no distinction. Whatever Trump says, it goes. I don't know where you've been, but there's a lot of people who just fall in love with Trump and don't really call him out for anything. Don't call him out about Operation Warp Speed. Don't call him out for anything he did with Central Park 5. Not apologizing to the Central Park 5 to make amends for how he, basically had a firestorm with them to try to have the public hating them. Nah, he sides with Linda Fairstein, a crooked prosecutor who sent those 5 innocent black boys away. Nobody wants to call out other things that Trump has done. Sit. He's just he could do no wrong. People got to wake up. That's it. That's all I could tell you. Back to this.
Forces have also intercepted a refrigerated truck trailer transporting refined adrenochrome from Ukraine to Warsaw, Poland, where they believe the shipment was destined for waiting aircraft bound for Western Europe and the United States. According to reports, the children's captors had drained their brittle young bodies of blood and adrenal fluid so frequently, and anybody involved in the production and export of a pharmaceutical cocktail Putin has called the devil's work. According to an FSB spokesman, the Russian president has formed an adrenochrome task force of special agents and hand-picked Spetsnaz to deal with the growing crisis. As Putin explains, the Western elite have been stuffing their bellies with human flesh for centuries. Unspeakable crimes against children have united the vampiric elites as a secretive cabal whose actions behind closed doors have destroyed the lives of so many of the innocent.
В западных элитах очень сильно желание заморозить существующее положение, несправедливое положение вещей в международных делах. Они привыкли столетиями набивать брюхо человеческой плотью, а карманы деньгами. Но они должны понять, что бал вампиров заканчивается.
According to the Kremlin, President Zelensky's Kiev regime has been earning hundreds of millions of dollars per year by raising children in degrading factory farm conditions and selling them to the highest bidder.
Let's not forget, Ukraine has a child trafficking ring. They've been busted for that. And illegal organ harvesting.
On the international market, no questions asked. Russian soldiers have made a succession of hideous discoveries inside Ukraine, where children between the ages of 2 and 7 are being raised in factory farm conditions. According to those on the ground in Ukraine, these children are sold as sex slaves to elite paedophiles, and those who don't find buyers are carved up like discarded waste, and their organs are harvested and sold for use at European and Israeli transplant centers.
Группа, да, получается, собирала детей казненных. маленьких, от 3 до 6 до 7 лет. И привозила именно вот в этот пункт. Там их раздевали на первом этаже, а на втором их раздевали. Как ненужный материал, их просто хоронили там в ямах и туда не вывозили. И вот эти ребята, они, знаете, говорили, как будто они как будто какую-то скотину завалили, поросенка или там кролика, да. Ну, они, да, привозили. Как будто какая-то ферма, понимаете? Вот это имплантация, да. Забирали органы. Слышал об этом, но не верил. Пока своими глазами не увидишь, не поймешь. А когда увидишь, не простишь.
Vera Vayman, a whistleblower who works with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, shared her testimony about what she witnessed in Ukraine. According to Vayman, the children are transported out of the country in trucks under a grain export code.
Существовали лаборатории у защитников Украины. Это нацбаты. Они, соответственно, они получали процент со сделки свой, и они занимались тем, что убивали детей. Органы они помещали в контейнеры. Контейнеры дальше продавались, соответственно. И под экспортным кодом зерна вывозились. Мы ликвидировали 8 лабораторий, а они представляли из себя нечто похожее на то, что мы называем подвалами. В основном мы уже были после зачистки. То есть, когда лаборатория была обнаружена, и, как правило, это было после взрыва. То есть мы заходили на пепелище, там были трупы.
It's a damn shame, man. It's a damn shame. All right. Let's talk about this Michigan Republican, what he was caught doing. Let's get into that. Second. Yep. They want to talk Democrats, but these Republicans.
A state representative is behind bars tonight. Lansing police arrested Republican Neil Frisky from Charlevoix early this morning. Officers responded to Forest Road on the city's southeast side at around 2:45 to reports about a man with a gun and possible shots fired. That is where they arrested the 62-year-old state lawmaker. He is accused of a felony-level offense and is expected to face charges in court tomorrow. Representative Frisky is running for re-election. His campaign released a statement which says, in part, quote, "As many of us know, Representative Frisky is always exercising his Second Amendment right."
We want to know what he did. Do you want to know? Let me tell you what he did. Let me tell you what he did. Okay. Where is it? Here it is. Here we go. Michigan GOP state Republican Neil Frisky arrested for alleged allegation with a stripper involving a firearm. Michigan State Republican Representative Neil Frisky, Republican of Charlevoix, was arrested early Thursday morning after he reportedly chased a stripper with a gun after a disagreement the two had. According to initial reports from the Lansing-based MIRS News, Frisky was arrested by the Lansing Police Department with a gun in his possession at 2:25 a.m. near his home after sources said he allegedly chased an adult dancer from his home. The dancer also supposedly works at the Deja Vu Gentlemen's Club in Lansing, which is located close to Frisky's home. The LPD also confirmed they were responding to shots fired. call. Authorities also declined to name what Frisky is being charged with until his arraignment on either Friday or Saturday. The claim involves a stripper and Frisky possessing a gun, could not be independently confirmed by the press. Time. Frisky's campaign released a statement on Facebook several hours after his arrest saying that the representative is always exercising his Second Amendment right. The campaign also insinuated without proof that the arrest is politically motivated, calling it highly suspect. Oh, boy. Official statement from the Team Frisky campaign this morning. It was brought to our attention that Representative Frisky was arrested and being held. As many of us know, Republican Frisky has always exercised his Second Amendment right. We do not have any details besides what, as the media source oddly before anyone of us knew anything. It is highly suspect considering the timing of the situation, right before absentee ballots are released, day after an unknown phone number conducted polling at the 107 race between Republican Frisky and our opponent with the deep state ties. We ask everyone for prayers and stay tuned. Frisky is vying for re-election in November, posted on X before his arrest on Thursday morning, criticizing his opponent, Parker Fairburn, for being a rhino, Republican in name only, and making it clear that he will work with the Democrats. This is a metaphoric visual of why I vote the way I do. In Lansing, I am not going to cave to the pressure of special interests. I'm not afraid of the false accusations like Frisky is for AI porn when a bill denies the people the right to properly defend themselves. Instead of just owning up to what you did, you just want to say this is a witch hunt. Frisky has been represented by the state's 107 district since January 2023, and he is regarded as a far-right member of the body. Shortly after being sworn in, Michigan's House Freedom Caucus announced that Frisky would be joining their ranks and serving as its secretary. June 5th, Frisky spoke to the press conference to introduce a set of bills sponsored by the Freedom Caucus aimed at combating rampant illegal immigration. If the federal government won't close the border and begin mass deportations, the burden falls on us to do everything we can to protect our communities. Frisky said in a statement, the only way people will start using the legal pathways again if we deport illegal migrants and make it crystal clear that the legal option is the only option. Yeah, I don't really believe that, because if you're really going to do that, you're going to have to deport all those illegals that are working for these big realtors, these store chains, these businesses. Okay, you're really going to have to go to these meat plants and get all those illegal migrants out, but you're not going to do that because you love that cheap labor. That's what you love. Okay. Now we'll be talking about Sharia law. Okay. And what's going on with it. Okay. One minute. About Sharia law coming to Minnesota. Okay. Here we are.
Minnesota will be the first U.S. state that will implement the Sharia law. Yes, you heard me right. Minnesota will be the first U.S. state that will implement the Sharia law. Let me explain. The Somali people, the Somali community in Minnesota are making a lot of changes. A lot of changes is happening. The first change, they were able to implement the adhan from the outside speakers. So you could hear the adhan from outside from the loudspeakers. The second change is that they changed the state flag to this. This is the new Minnesota flag. Next, inshallah ta'ala, make dua, yeah? Make dua, they will implement the Sharia.
Remember, I told you about cultural jihad, how Muslims will come to a foreign country and change the laws to make their country more like uh, an Islamic country. This is what's happening. And people are not really don't know how dangerous Islam really is. They don't know. They just do not know how dangerous this religion is, how dangerous uh, this religion can be. All right, this is a religion where it's the legal right for a man to beat his wife. It's legal for a man to marry a 9-year-old. Okay. There are millions of cases like this. They're doing a lot of it is done. Is many stories about it. There's stories done of this happening also in Yemen. All right, and it's not a joke. It is not a joke.
I mean, is anybody paying attention to what's happening in London? I'm going to say it here on the floor of the House to get the scorn of people when I say you've got a massive Muslim takeover of the United Kingdom going on right before our eyes. They would say, Chip, well, what is wrong with that? Well, I've got some pretty strong concerns about Sharia law and whether that'll be forced upon the American people. In this case, the people of the United Kingdom. I've got pretty strong concerns about people who want to see Israel's destruction, who were happy about October 7th, who were elected in the United Kingdom. Some might say that we've seen that here in the United States. What are we going to do about that? We have 51.5 million people who are foreign born in the United States. They have about 20 to 25 million kids. That puts that well over 20-something% of our population. It's the highest such number in the history of our country. People say, well, isn't that great? Is it? Are we teaching people about Western civilization? Are we teaching people about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law? Are we teaching them Western values? Are we teaching them God exists? Are we teaching them the importance of freedom? Or are we teaching an entire generation or two or three to run around complaining about what's wrong and why the entire world is against them because of their skin color, their sex, their supposed gender identity, whatever the hell category we create to make people have an excuse for not just stepping up and achieving the American dream?
It's not wrong. All right, he's not wrong. Minnesota, there's no free speech in Islam. There is none. I don't know what to tell you. And you have these liberals, these woke people, you know, the LGBT want to be supporting Palestine. You're supporting a group of people that would happily throw you off a bridge or burn you for your for your sexual preference. That's the nicest way to put it. These people don't care about you.
Dawud Islam, I began to do a deep study in Islam, and I saw so much darkness in Quran and in Islamic studies. And I lost my faith in Islam, but at the same time, I couldn't deny the fact that there's a God, and I was crying out to God, who are you? Why did you create me?
They say, well, we're not going to give them any prison time. They're learning our culture. And it's the leftist feminists that are bringing them in. Well, why is that in my view? It's because it will clash with Christianity. It will create a divided culture. But now, more and more, we see the UK and others announcing, if you even criticize Islam, you will be arrested.
Coming over here, you're in a beach and you see these men coming over here, Muslim men, where it says in their, they have a belief that women are just a tilth to just plow. Women are not intelligent. Women, what else? A whole bunch of things. Women make up the majority of hellfire. Okay? You can beat your wives. Surah chapter 4, verse 34. You can look these things up. You can even have sex with a dead woman. Go on sunnah2.com, type in dead woman, and you'll see all the information come up from the hadith. This is a very dangerous and evil religion that is taking over most of Western Europe. And the liberals are helping. Black people are subscribing to this religion, a religion that does not respect women. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And they don't respect black people. Muhammad said black people are destined for hellfire. If you want to know what the description of Satan, look at a black man. They started the Arab slave trade. I don't get why black people are so gung-ho about Islam. No, I'm not pushing any religion on you, but it's safer to live in a Judeo-Christian society than it is to live in an Islamic society. Especially for you, those who are part of the Rainbow Gang. You won't last long in an Islamic society. Even though that Muhammad wore Aisha's clothes, he was a cross-dresser. I don't get that really, but hey, that's how they roll.
And then you have the big famous case of the woman who was given the death penalty in Pakistan for being a Christian, and then that was commuted, but now she has a fatwa out. They're trying to kill her. She's asked for asylum in the UK. And Theresa May said no, it would offend Muslims. So there is a leftist move all over the world that if you offend Muslims in any way, you get arrested. And that includes if you're a Christian and you try to talk to them about Christianity. So we are adopting their Sharia law.
And the thing is, though, they will lie and say there's free speech in Islam. There is no free speech in Islam. Otherwise, there's people that could talk whatever beliefs they want, but you can't do that. In Islam. You can't even say Muhammad is black because according to Quran, to say so is the death penalty. He was white. You look at Muhammad's 34th grandson, very white.
And they're even pushing that in places like Europe. There's the headline. Theresa May blocked asylum application for Pakistani Christian locked up for blasphemy despite UK playing host to hijackers, extremists, and rapists. Yes.
And that's going on a lot in the UK. There's a lot of grooming gangs. That's what goes on.
They give free council estates, that's houses, to returning ISIS fighters. So we're joined by our guest. Here's the
2 other passengers. Nobody died. The plane burned to the ground. And 3 weeks later, I was in... Thank you, Alex, for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
Tell us what happened to you while you were in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mall of America, and what unfolded.
Well, I was, in fact, a few weeks prior to that, I was in Mexico. I was preaching the gospel. I was invited to speak in Mexico because I was told that many young men and women are turning to atheism because they're disappointed with Catholicism. So I went there and I shared my testimony at a few youth camps and a university and a few churches, and it was very powerful. And on the way back, our plane crashed, and I cried out to Jesus and I called on his name, and the Lord saved me and 102 other passengers. Nobody died. We asked each other, where are you from? And I told them the city and the mall, and they said, we're going to show you the biggest mall in North America. And I went there. We had no plan to go evangelize or advertise or solicit, as they call it. I was there in the mall, and I just ran to some Somali Muslims. We had a private, casual conversation. We asked each other, where are you from? And I told them, I'm originally from Iran. And they asked me if I'm a Muslim. I said, I used to be. I'm a Christian now. And they said, why? Why did you change? And as I began to explain to them, giving my testimony, how and why I became a Christian, another Muslim lady who was not a part of the conversation, she overheard us, and she went and told the guard that this guy is harassing us, and this guy is, attacking us. And then the guard came and he said, he cannot do this here. It's illegal.
What did I say? They practiced taqiyya. She just lied on the man. Taqiyya is deception. Lied on the man. This is a very dangerous religion. All right? I'm not saying all Muslims are like this, but if you have a conversation, not even to, tell them about what you believe or anything like that, but if you say, well, I'm not really comfortable with Islam and stuff, this you say, and they say, well, why not? Well, such and such says, I found this out, I found that out, I found that. Oh, excuse me. They'll call the cops because under Sharia law, talk about anything bad about Muhammad, you're in trouble. We live in a land of Judeo influence, okay? Like it or not, at least we have free speech here. That's slowly being eroded in Europe. Okay? Women could walk around freely and reject guys. You can't really do that under Islam and is Sharia law. These men might throw acid in your face. These men might kill you. Make up a lie. Or you offended Muhammad. You blaspheme against Muhammad. That actually happened to a woman. Just a student, a Christian student, Muslim boy wanted to talk to her, take her out on a date. She said no. He spread a lie. She ends up getting beat and set on fire. All right? Now imagine that happening to your daughter. Imagine that happening to your sister. All because she rejected a dude. You think people can't take men can't take rejection in the US? Imagine when they're powered by Sharia law and they want to become Muslim because they can oppress women. Women can't really say no. It's a religion where a woman's silence is their consent. You heard me. A woman's silence is their consent. That's what goes down. All right? This isn't a joke, people. This isn't a joke. To go even further, check this out. This is what's going on in Canada right now. moment. Here we go. This is a traffic stop. All right. Muslims that stop traffic to pray. This is what they do. They have no respect for anybody else. They want to dominate. This is called cultural jihad. They want to dominate in traffic. You want to pray in traffic. Are you serious? A lot of people join, they join Islam. Some, you may have most of them. Some people join because they feel that people were kind. Other people join because of the power trip. The fact that they can stop traffic. They don't care if people got to go somewhere. Emergency services have to transport someone who could be dying. They could stop traffic. That's how they feel. Some people, it's a power trip. If you read the Quran and read some of the Hadith, you'll understand this religion is for people who want power and sex and the right to possess women as property. All right. A few local stories right now. Do that. Now I'm going to have to wrap it up for right now. I'll have to wrap it up. Okay. So that's it for now. I hope you guys. Second. All right. And that's about it. Later. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.